I saw a video by Faye, who was I believe, the GM and the raid leader for the Horde Guild Onslaught, which maybe you do or don't know about them, but I think most people would consider that group to be the most performant group that's ever existed on Horde at level 60. And they've been around for a long time, and I believe he's ran groups on many private servers, also back on launch back in the day. He had a video about his thoughts on Season of Discovery and why he was going to quit doing it, and I believe he disbanded his guild as well. I'm going to put a link to that in the description. You should definitely check it out later. And I felt the same way about a lot of the things that this guy said. Let me just summarize a lot of it. If you don't have 40-man raids, I really think it makes the game feel a lot less like Classic if you're going to make it so that way there's all these items and effects that are very retail-like that are put in the game. Then, it just makes it feel like a retail minus. That's what he said, and I kind of agree with that. But my biggest thing, and there's not a lot of agreement here, I would say, amongst people, it's just that the boss fights, they don't feel like classic WoW. Personally, and just in my experience playing with other people, DPS players, they want to do a lot of damage. Healers want to heal a lot. Tanks want to be attention whores. And I'd say, tanks are able to get what they want, but a lot of the boss fights, they have mechanics such that the healing should be minimal if people are doing things right. And there's not necessarily opportunities to take more damage to increase the DPS of players. A lot of the fights, you have tons of downtime on them. I don't think it's personally very fun to try to play the game of hitting the festering rot slime from behind while it's moving around, and tanks sometimes have threat issues and you get eaten. I think it's lame. I think that the Twin Dragon fight, that was lame also, because you spend really half the fight just jerking yourself around trying to not get knocked into that hole in the center of the room. It feels like you're fighting the environment a lot. And I played only a little bit of retail Mythic Plus, a very, very tiny amount. I've done probably like 5 or 10 dungeons with some friends. And I would say that it's not like you fight the environment in retail, but there wasn't a whole lot of just doing nothing when I was playing it. There may have been a lot of effects that matter and things that could one-hit you, and there's red shit on the ground and you're not allowed to touch it, and don't stand in front of the bosses or the trash, and you gotta kick things, and it's a very dynamic environment. But there's always stuff to do. And in Sunken Temple, it feels like there's so many times you should just take your hand off the keyboard. I don't think the ghosts were fun at all in Sunken Temple. If they hit 30% lower, they wouldn't have the ability to one-shot the vast majority of classes if they get a crit. I think that the best players in the world getting hit by ghosts and risking their speed runs because it was the best strategy. It's not like these guys are messing up. Imagine this. Best players in the world, you go check their logs, see how many auto attacks from ghosts did they receive. It's like 20, 30, 40, 50 in all of these runs. And every single one of those attacks had the chance to just one-hit somebody and end their speed run. But it was the best strategy for them. That's so lame, man. It's total coin flip. It's pathetic. Then you have fights like the council fight, except you fight the trolls one at a time, which takes a lot of the fun out of a council fight. Multi-dotting, cleaving, that's the kind of stuff people live for on boss fights with multiple mobs, right? Isn't it just obvious? Warriors like to cleave. Shadow Priests like to use dots, although they're not usually allowed to in Classic, but Sod could have had them do that. Same things with Warlocks. Just the mark was missed so much. Then you have fights like Avatar of Hakar, where there's every 15 seconds there's a mechanic where for the average raid group, the way you handle it is that you're just running out of the stack and not doing any DPS. It's so boring. It's so boring. Imagine if you had a fight like Baron Geddon in Molten Core, and the way it worked is just 1/8 of your raid. So like 6 people had the bomb at any time, and so they just had to not do anything. How much would that suck? Okay, so it'd be like, all right, what would that mean? You have like let's say a 30-second Baron Geddon kill in MC. All right, and it's like classic WoW, and the mechanic was that an eighth of your raid is living bombed at all times, and it's the bombs go out like every 15 seconds. Dude, that would mean that you'd have something around a 25% chance as a DPS player that you're just not parsing that week, and it has nothing to do with you as a player. Nothing. There's no amount of skill that can make up for it, because you got the bomb, you got to run out. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's also not classic WoW, I don't think. I think classic WoW is easy content. It's easy content that allows up to 40 people to go into it, but you really don't need 40 people for most of it. Now, it's a little different for Nax and, to a much lesser extent, AQ40. But in BWL and MC, who hasn't been in a raid group before where the people organizing it are honestly, they're kind of fucking clowns? And so you have 35 people show up to raid, and raid night's fine. You know, of course, it's gonna impact your ability to parse. Your run's not gonna be killer on time, but you could have a great BWL or MC with 35 people. It can be a really enjoyable experience, and you can also have brand new players that are new to your guild or your raid group come with you, and sure, they won't be necessarily productive always. Sometimes they are, but it's not like they're a mega liability. Now, in Sunken Temple, if you had somebody that was actual total beginner, they could screw your group up pretty easily. And I think this is going to be even worse in the relaunch of Molten Core, which has got me bummed, man. It's got me bummed. I hope I'm wrong, all right? If I'm wrong and Molten Core comes out and we see for week over week for like a month or two that populations go up and up and up on the amount of people raiding, and everyone's like, I love this. I love how there's multiple difficulties. I think that the meta's nice. It's refreshing. They changed all this stuff. We don't really know how it's going to play out, but you see it. You see the meta developing, which would happen over just a couple weeks probably, and everyone's stoked, and I'm totally wrong. That would be great. That'd be great. You don't win any prizes for predicting that it's not going to be good. I don't think that Season Discovery was honestly made with the intention of being a test ground for Classic Plus. This is what I think it was made with the intention of. You imagine you're an engineering team member, a game designer, a marketing department type guy, like I would say Agron seems like that personally. It's not shit talk, though. I want to say that, okay? It's important to market things. What are some things that you got to do in any business? You got to prove that you have a reason that you're employed. Now, if they took base Classic and they just added a little stuff, they made a little bit of horizontal content, and it was very similar to, you know, Molten Core and BWL, like how it is on Era, I think it'd be very hard for these guys to justify having jobs. I think that's a huge part of why there is so much stuff getting changed, all right? And why it doesn't feel like Classic, because the primary goal isn't to make a Classic Plus. No, it's always going to be to make the company money, and then for the employees, it's always to be a jobs program. That's how it is anywhere, you know? I'm sure you have a job or have had a job before, and your primary goal there is for it to be a jobs program for yourself, okay? To survive in the organization and get paid, and hopefully not drive yourself crazy in the process. I don't know what the solution to that honestly is. I have no idea how you could build a corporate structure where game designers and developers are able to tell executive staff, we're going to do very little, but it's going to be just the right stuff, but it's going to be very little. And the players, they're going to love it. And without us, in the absence of our very little changes, you wouldn't have as good of a product. Because how convenient is that to say? You know, to be like, yeah, so my job is to not really do a whole lot. And you're going to have to trust me that the little I do is just magic. Okay? So it's no wonder that this kind of stuff happens. But you know what would have been really cool that I don't think we're going to get at level 60? If they made a raid that was between the difficulties of MC and BWL. You know, like something like that. And it was a 40-man. And it would be easy to do too. I know people will be like, that's asking for so much. It's so hard. No, it's not. No, it's not. Molten Core is pathetic how easy it is, all right? If you raided in 2019, I can almost guarantee you that you never were in a raid group that didn't kill anything other than Rag. Okay? The only reason you wouldn't kill Domo, some groups couldn't kill Domo the first few times they did it, but generally it's because you didn't have the quintessences. And in the very first few months, some people weren't able to kill Rag because they missed the DPS check. And then, in case maybe you don't know this, a lot of people haven't even seen it before. If you don't get Rag killed before he submerges, he spawns all these little elementals and they do AoE damage and mana burns, and everybody turns their brain off, and then your group wipes. That's usually how it goes, okay? You're supposed to kite them, but everybody in Classic is kind of dumb. And so most people just be like, oh, we're going to wipe, and then you'd pull the boss again. All the other fights, like what's going on? Lucifron, 3 mobs that melee, they hit as hard as trash mobs, and they have mind control. Like Magmadar, okay, he auto attacks, he puts fire patches on the ground that hit for so little that people stand in them on purpose, and then he enrages. Gehennis puts out a curse and he auto attacks and does a stun. Like all these bosses are tank and spanks, and yet they are iconic and super duper fun. You get to BWL, it's the same stuff. It's like, don't stand in front of the dragons, don't stand behind some of the dragons. There's cleaves and fire breaths. There's a threat mechanic. The tanks have to know how it works. Most of the raid doesn't have to have any idea. I guess Fire Maw has like a mechanic that if it was in SOD, I'd probably call it boring. I think the whole stacking fire thing, like, it's not the most exciting stuff ever. But at least you can build your group in a way where you do enough DPS that everybody just eats all the stacks on Fire Maw. These fights are simple to design, okay? You think maybe the models, the art, that stuff, that's not simple. That might take a lot of work, a lot of creativity, but when it comes to designing a boss fight that feels good, where people are excited about doing it, it is easy. It's truly easy. Like, I'll just make a boss fight off the dome here. Boss does an effect where the top 4 DPS get a dot on themselves, and it makes them hit a little harder. And, I don't know, maybe you can give him a threat drop too. Although I'm not a big fan of threat drops. And other than that, it's like a tank and spank. And people would love it, you know? Could you imagine, oh, I'm a DPS. If I get to the top 4, I'm going to get this steroid. It would feel good. It would push people to want to do more and more damage. You can maybe even make it so it gives a buff to people on the low end of the damage, too. Who knows? It'd be easy. It'd be fun. People actually do like these zero-skill fights. I mean, you think about how people refer to boss fights as being like patchwork. If you're not a tank, I shouldn't say this, if you're not a raid leader, patchwork is a zero skill fight. Why? Because DPS players just do damage. They don't do anything else. Healers, they don't make decisions on patchwork. You get pre-assigned to spam somebody. All right, and the tanks, they just do their little rotation there. Like, literally, on patchwork, if you are not the raid leader, you are not using your brain at all. And it's fun. It's fun. It's a fight people look forward to. Or Fankris and AQ. That fight, the only thing that's bad about it is some people get put into those little eggshells, and then you just get screwed on your chance to do damage. Same thing with, like, Myexna. But these are fights where there is nothing happening. Nothing. And it's wonderful. It's fantastic. But instead, SOD's going to do weird stuff. They're going to make things too hard. But hard in a lame way. Not hard in a cool retail way, where it's this dynamic environment, you're responding to things and you're able to stay on target all the time. No, it's going to be, hey, you have this effect and you're not allowed to play the game for 10 seconds. Oh, yeah, one of your friends messed up, you all lose your world buffs. Fun. Blast. Other stupid changes, dude. Boons, 5-minute CD. You know what's going to happen in most raid groups, probably? It's going to be like Classic Era. If you haven't played Classic Era, here is the worst thing about playing Classic Era if you want to raid. Everybody is terrified of losing their fucking world buffs. And since the boon exists now, you know what they do? They boon until the very last boss. If you go to AQ40 Pug, probably you're keeping your shit booned all the way until you get to like Twin Emps. Okay? Lame. Boring. You go to a Molten Core run, boon exists, no one's world buffing. You go to BWL, probably no one's going to use it unless it's like the last few bosses, if at all. You go to a Nax run, people will save the world buffs until you get to the bosses that have a chance of wiping the raid group. Okay? They don't want people respond to incentives. Oh, I don't want to lose my buffs on the trash. I don't want to lose my buffs on the easy boss if somebody screws up. And so what do? You just slow down the whole experience and you take all the fun out of the world buffs. This is what becomes your average experience then, if you play Classic Era and you play of Strangers. You get your buffs. You don't use them until the fight that is most likely to kill you with them on, right? Because that's the fight where you need them the most. The encounter where you need the buffs the most is the one that is most likely to take your buffs away, because it's the hardest, right? That's why you need them. And so you go, spend like 2 hours getting your buffs, you pop them on Saffron or KT, and you die! And you lose them! And you didn't even have fun with them. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. This is fantastic. You know what's going to happen in SOD? They're going to crank the difficulty up. And then people are going to take advantage of this 5-min CD on the boons. And they're going to be like, oh, boon for the trash, guys. And then it's going to be, you're going to come to a boss and you're going to unboon. And some of those bosses will be easy. And so it'll be kind of cool. You don't have to worry about losing your buffs on trash. That's fine. But you're probably going to have your buffs out for, I don't know, like 12 minutes in a raid, and then you're going to, in total, and then you're going to end up getting to the hard part, and you're going to lose them. And so even though they last 2 hours, you're going to have had like 12 minutes using them, all right? I remember how it was before boons, and I'm not saying they should take away boons. I think boons are awesome, okay? I think they're a great change. Just this 5-minute stuff, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. You know what people used to do? You'd have your buffs in raid, and you'd get like a good 30, 40 minutes out of them. If you were in a bad group, because you're a little slower, you know, if it's a bad group, a little slower of a raid, you get 30, 40 minutes out of them doing the easier bosses in the trash. The players who are good in your group could reliably keep them, generally, and the players who are bad would sometimes lose them immediately. Sucks for them. There's no skill for you. There's no solution for that, really. It's like, don't be super dumb. And then something would make your whole group lose their buffs. But you still got like a third of the use out of them, okay? Like, you're in a guild that had a really rough time in Nax. How'd that probably go? Oh, you smoked a Nubricon, maybe you lost some people on Faralina trash, then you kill Faralina, and then maybe you wipe on my Exna, and your group was bad, so like it took you like 45 minutes to get to my Exna. Like, hey, you got 40 minutes out of the buffs, okay? I'm not saying it's wonderful. People complained about it back then, but it's so much better than what happens now that the boon exists on Era, okay? And it's going to be way worse with this 5-minute CD shit, all right? Because you're going to have the opportunity to just pop them in and pop them out and pop them in and pop them out. And people are going to, in general, not enjoy them on the trash because, oh, look, somebody in the group could be an idiot and lose their buffs. Guys, I want everybody to have their buffs for the last boss. I'm the raid leader. I'm terrified that we're going to not be able to kill it. And that makes sense. I'm not saying these people are punks or like they're like scared or something. I mean, they are scared. But we're playing into people optimizing the fun out of the game for themselves. And it's terrible. It's so terrible. The game's great when it's easy. Think about how many people quit in AQ40. AQ40 is not actually hard. Like, what do you need for AQ40 to go good? You need enough DPS that Huhuran doesn't kill a bunch of people. Because if she kills a bunch of people, even if you kill her, it's really lame, right? Because they lose their buffs. Feels bad. You need 2 Warlock tanks that have soft cap on resistance for twin imps, and 2 Warrior tanks that know how to use shield block when your defense skill gets set to 0 from the unbalancing strike. Alright? Then you need 3 or 4 people on Oro who know how threat works. So that way, you don't have people die from the threat drops, from the Sandblast. Then you get to Cthulhu, and a lot of people need to know what's going on because of the chain effects. Okay? That shit, everybody else in the raid, other than those like key, like 4 warrior tanks, 2 warlock tanks, and your DPS core in general being like okay, they can be terrible. Everybody else can be terrible. And still, it was brutal for raid groups. AQ is really brutal on people. If you go check Ironforge Pro stuff, you're gonna see that pops nosedive in AQ, and they also nosedive in Nax 40. All right, and that shit is so much easier than Sunken Temple. And Nomer, it's a lot easier. Way easier. Now, the preparation check required in SOD is in some ways not as high as it was in Classic. Unless you consider things like enchants and wanting to get the best BOE items, then it's worse, alright? Then the preparation check is at an all-time high. Or getting these runes and the developer saying to just be patient, we're undermanned, it's hard for us to make it so that way these obvious problems don't exist. Like, this is bullshit, guys. We all know it's total fucking bullshit. How hard is it to rapidly put in a change where getting the runes is easier? If they just gave you the runes for free, would it be so bad? You know what they give you for free? Your fucking character's abilities. Your talent points. It's fine. It's fine. You know, in some other bizarro, wacky universe, they put talent points in the game, and there was like 7 people on Reddit saying, you should have to earn those talent points. You know, why do they just, it's like welfare. They give it to you for getting levels. It's stupid. It's stupid, okay? People don't love it. People stopped playing. God, it bugs the fuck out of me. I hope that MC is so easy that although they call it a 20-person raid, I hope it's a 15-person raid where you're allowed to take an extra 5 people. And I hope that I'm wrong and that everybody has a good time. But I doubt it.